Hey guys, Bam here. So in the last few days, I tried a bunch of League Starter, trying to get to either World and Exarch as fast as possible on SSF. And to be honest, nothing felt right from what I tried. So I tried a bleed bow build. It wasn't bad, to be honest, but I'm scared of the top end damage. Because that's like killing the Ether of World and also the Exarch was pretty bad. Maybe if I had like a better bow, it would have been better. But yeah, I also tried a Eurofant totem with a bunch of different skills. I wasn't happy with anything that came up, so now I'll present you what will be my fail case scenario if I don't find anything until the league starts. But I'm still waiting on the new gems because I think there will be more gems coming in. And I don't mean like new skills, I just mean the transfigure gems. So maybe I'll cook up something with the new transfigure gem. But for now, I'll be showing you my league starter if nothing works, which is a Exsanguinate Mine Trickster. So this is the build I started on League 323 Affliction, and it was really smooth, and also it didn't require any investment to be able to get to T16, so this is a huge plus. The only kind of items you have to invest in are two 1 chaos unique and a 10 chaos unique. At least last league they were. So yeah, it as you can see, it runs pretty fast. It's really easy to like clear and everything. At first it will be lacking some single target DPS, so like killing hard bosses will be hard until you invest into the build, but aside of that you can get to T16 really easy. It scales off the gem levels too, so like just getting EXP in general will make your character better and better. And one of the most important things for me personally is being fast. That character is so fast because we're using shield charge with a bunch of increased attack speed, so our shield charge goes real fast, and also we do not rely on cooldowns when using shield charge. Of course, we're also using flame dash because sometimes you will combine the two, and also in some like clustered areas, it's actually better to use flame dash and shield charge. So, but as you can see, it's a pretty easy build. It doesn't have many buttons, so that's another plus. If you're not the kind of guy who likes to use like 5 different curses and stuff like that, a huge setup, well, this is a super easy build. I think anyone who starts playing Path of Exile could be playing that build. Alright, now for the PoB, I made a couple of leveling trees, so 1 to 12, 13 to 30, 31 to 47, and then 48 to 68. And then whenever you want to swap to Exsanguinate, which I'll explain later, but you want to swap to Exsanguinate once you get a 5 link, okay? And then another one for the end game, so once you get like to red tier map or something like that, once you have enough currency to make all the pieces yourself or buy them off the trade website. All right, with that being said, let's see what skill we will be using to level. So one of my favorite, Rolling Magma. I don't think anything come close to Rolling Magma for the clear on a shadow. So Rolling Magma with added cold and elemental proliferation, and you can add Flame Wall to add some more damage and Holy Flame Totem. So this is the one from 1 to 12. Once you get to level 12, you can actually buy Lightning Trap and switch to Lightning Trap instead with Swift Assembly and Pures. Very important that you get Pures because or else it will not be as good as a clear. And yeah, and then once you get to level 28, you can actually buy Pyroclast Mine, and this will be like pretty much the same setup we'll be using for all the game with some few changes, but yeah, and then you can keep that setup for Pyroclast Mine until you get a 5 link. So it could happen maybe in Act 7 or 8, or you could happen once you get to maps. And once you get a 5 link, you want to swap over to Exsanguinate. So here I just wrote down whenever you have enough currency to be able to get yourself an Empower level 4, swap the Empower from the chain. You will not no longer need the chain support, even though it's pretty good with this skill. The Empower 4 would just be so much more damage that it's worth it. And yeah, you have every single group. You can use them in wherever you want. So it's not like you can use this setup into your boots or to your helmet. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's it for the tree and the skill sets. It's a pretty easy leveling experience. It should go fine during the campaign. And now for the items. So I made a bunch of like starting maps items. So whenever you get to maps, what you want to get. So +1 is weapon and shield. And make sure you craft increased mine throwing speed if you have an open suffix on your weapon. Because yeah, it is super good. And yeah, as you can see, a bunch of stats. So the most important thing is that you get close to or to 100% chance to suppress spell damage. And now we only had 34, but the reason why is that we don't have the right setup. So here we can see this is at 130. So if you're stacking a bunch of spell suppression, you can like free some from the tree. And yeah, and then maxing your resistance as always. If you can go high in chaos resistance, good. If not, it's fine too. It's not required for the lower tier maps. And once you've like accumulate some currency with this setup, you can swap over to the Hate Shiver and Himsaro setup. So this is why I said it was a pretty cheap build, because he uses a 1 chaos ring, a like 10 chaos Hate Shiver. Last league it's been like 10 chaos pretty much the whole league, and the another 1 chaos pair of gloves. So yeah, pretty much everything is cheap. Taste of Hate might be kind of pricey early on, so you don't have to buy it. You can just use a life flask until you get the Taste of Hate. But yeah, it's a good way to be more tanky, because uh, our biggest weakness is physical hits. But since we're freezing and chilling everything, our offense kind of our defense, so it should work pretty fine. And then we have the mine throwing speed and life as a jewel. So the others can be whatever you want to fix into there. Some crit could be cool, but the most important part is increase max life and increase mine throwing speed. So those are two prefixes. Yeah. So for the belt, you want to early on, at least, you want a heavy belt, and try to use essences or find one on the trade website that has a bunch of strength, because we're pretty low on strength. Like, let's say if we remove this belt, we're only at 85 strength, okay? And so our build needs 155 strength, so make sure you get your strength from somewhere. I just think that getting it from the belt is a good place, but it could be anywhere. As I said, the only thing you want is the max spell suppression chance, max resistance, and your strength. The rest is okay, it doesn't really matter. Alright, once you get to Act 3, make sure you do the library quests, because you will have a bunch of gems to buy from there. So shield charge, momentum, and fast attack. So those will help you travel faster, and this is why this build is so fast. Alright, now for the Ascendancy. So we'll be a Trickster. So the first node we want to pick up is Swift Killer, because it gives us 2 frenzy charges. So 2 frenzy charges gives us 4% increase damage per charge. But it also gives us 4% increased attack speed, which may not look good on this build because we're technically not attacking, but shield charge counts as an attack, so we'll just shield charge faster. Then you want to move on to Polymath, so this will be 3% more damage for each different type of mastery. It also gives us a bunch of recovery, so it's pretty good. So the mastery are those things, like whenever you want to pick up those, you have to remember it will give us a bunch of damage and some quality of life. And then for the Merc Lab, you want to pick up Escape Artist, and the Uber Lab, the Spellbreaker. Alright, next for the Pantheon, you want to grab the Soul of the Brine King, and make sure you capture Merveil for the 100% chance to avoid being frozen as fast as possible. And for the Minor God, you can pick up whatever. Here I picked up Soul of Ralakish, because currently we do not have any corrupted blood immunity. If you take the upgraded one, capturing Drek, the Apex Hunter. It will help you with corrupted immunity, but I would suggest trying to get a gem with the implicit corrupted blood immunity. It's a super fast mobility wise build, but it's also pretty quick at killing bosses, as you can see here. And the fact that you can stack up your damage by using mines is another plus, because in between like phases or whenever the boss is giving his lines, you can stack up your damage, and then as you can see, it dies pretty fast. Unlike my previous build, the power charge stacking ball of lightning with traps, I think this build could get to Ubers, but personally I didn't do it in 3.23. But yeah, it's super satisfying to play. Alright, now for the endgame PoB. So the first step you want to do is actually grab a couple of cluster jewels. So you want a large cluster jewel with a increased physical damage. And you want those 3 nodes: Battle Ardent, Furious Assault, and Iron Breaker. So normally on Furious Assault, the increased attack speed wouldn't be too good, but as I said, the shield charge really benefits from it, so it's pretty good. But if you want, you can just unallocate those two at first to save 2 points and allocate there somewhere else. For the medium cluster jewels, you want 12% increased mine damage, and expert sabotage and guerrilla tactics. And yeah, then it will give you access to 2 more jewels. Again, you want to increase maximum life, mine throwing speed, and the suffixes doesn't really matter. But if you can get some more damage in there, like crit multi or something like that, it's always good. But they will get pricey for sure. They said the most important part are the 2 prefixes, so the percentage of life and the mine throwing speed. All right. Okay, so aside of that, you want to allocate all those points and only grab charisma and allocate it from your amulet. Talking about the amulet that you want is either a replica Dragon's Fang with the plus 3 Exsanguinate, or a simplex amulet with +2 to physical and +2 to all, which will be better, but of course it will cost a ton. So this is a good starter. I don't know what will be the price of it. Last week it was super cheap on the like first day, and then it jumped up. So yeah, we would never know what the price of this amulet will be, but if you keep an eye out for it, you can probably get one for pretty cheap. Yeah, for now for the items. So here is the items I was using on my own build for this league, but this is just something you could watch for. So my scepter is super good. It has a triple implicit. It took forever to craft it, but you don't have to be that extreme. But if you can get a +1 to all spell skill gem and a +1 fizz, it's pretty good. Then the added spell damage even better. But yeah, you don't have to go that deep into it. For your shield, again, +1 to fizz, and then increased cold can help a lot, or increase spell damage does the trick. We're still using a 8 shiver, but this time we'll try to get one with a +1 power charge. You could get another implicit too, but just a +1 power charge does help a lot. So, and the body armor is again a super sweaty version of it, but just like trying to get increased mana reservation and some spell suppression damage, then some evasion, energy shield, and life will be fine. Okay, for the gloves, as I said, you need some fizz to cold conversion to be able to move from Herm Sorrow to this. So yeah, the hard part is that you need to have a perfect fizz to cold, and also you need to have your fizz to cold at 25% on the implicit. So this one is kind of hard to craft, not gonna lie. And the reason why we go for a 16% increase attack speed, it helps with the shield charge. So yeah, shield charging around and being super fast is really awesome. This is a zoomer build, so you run around maps pretty fast. But you don't have to. If you don't want to, just make sure you get the physical damage converted to cold, and the rest is just gravy on top. Of course, the other modifiers also helps. Like the sucketed gems have 16% more attack speed. So if you put your shield charge setup into this, you will get another 16%, so it's pretty good. But as I said, it's not mandatory. As long as you have some increased attack speed, it will be just fine. Then for the boots, they're pretty generic, not gonna lie. You want some life, some movement speed, and then fix your resistance. The amulet, we already talked about it. And then for a ring, again, just generic stuff, fix your resistance and get some life. For one of my two rings actually has a bunch of strength on it, but you don't need to have that many strength. Like this is a fractured which has, oops, sorry. This is a fractured which has increased attribute on it. So this is like a big ring that I use an essence that gives the global crit multi. So yeah, you don't have to do all this. It just added damage if you want to go further down the road. And then the belt again, just a bunch of resistance to try to get our resistance up. Because if we look, we remove the taste of hate. Right now you can see our resistance are over, but we're still close to. So you will need to get a bunch of resistance from gear. But since we're using a bunch of generic rares, it's pretty easy to craft them, to be honest. The hypnotic eye jewel from your belt could be anything. I really like using increased chance if you haven't done a crit chance recently, because on bosses the first hit will always crit. But aside of that, you want a bunch of life and added energy shield, and the rest doesn't really matter. The flasks are the same, so we'll keep the same flask, and the jewels, we went over it. So yeah, as you can see, this is like the end game. Of course, we could add some more damage if we added, let's say, double hatred Watcher's Eye with, there's a mod from the Watcher's Eye that gives base crit chance. With that, we could hit the 100% crit chance on our build and deal way more damage. But as I said, I didn't have it, so this is how I ended my league starter last league. So hopefully this helped for the end goal of the build. And as you can see, its damage is like 32 million. And yeah, it's a really fun build. And the best thing about it is that most of its items are either super cheap or you can just craft them yourself pretty easily. So that's why I think it's a super good league starter. The only thing that's annoying is the amulet and maybe the hate shiver, but I don't think ever since they nerfed it, because before it was gain 100% of cold damage at extra fire against frozen enemy, which was insane. Now they nerfed it last league, so ever since they nerfed it, it wasn't ever the same. Like the price from it went way down. So this is all the uniques the build is using. So early on, the Hemsaro is one chaos, but will be all link long. But later down the road, if you want, you can just buy one with the corrupted implicit of +1 frenzy until you craft a good pair of rares. It will do the job just fine. And then we have Heat Shiver. So this was the price from last league. If we look at the Heat Shiver right now, before it was really pricey because it was one of the best unique, but now since they nerfed it, as you can see from last league, it was like pretty much 10 chaos all league long. Again, you can find one with a better implicit, a corrupted implicit later down the road. +1 power charge will be the best. But as you can see, a base one will be super cheap. And since we're freezing and chilling the enemies, we get both the extra cold as fire from the frozen enemies and from the chill effect too. So yeah, it's pretty good for us, but it's not what it used to be, so it's cheap now. The next one is a Kikazaru. So Kikazaru is always a super cheap ring, so no matter what happens, you can always grab that one. Again, you could get one with a good corrupted implicit or double corrupted implicit if you can. Since there are so many of those, maybe you can grab one that's pretty cool. And for the last one is the Taste of Fate. So at the beginning of the league, it's always like the first one are always like over a divine, but they quickly drop in price, as you can see here. They went from 130 chaos to 70 or even 30 chaos a week later. So as you can see, the early ones will always be in demand because like there's no supply and people who are looking for that item will pay a premium, but then the supply will overcome the demand. All right, so for this build, I would give it a 9 out of 10 as a league starter. First off, because we're playing a Trickster is super cool. The only caveat about this is that GGG just announced yesterday that they will remove the left click So we will no longer be able to put left click as a button. So right now, if we play, I can just troll the mines and then left click and then be done with. But now they said they will remove it, so unless they change it back, we will actually have to use the detonate button. So you will have to use this, like the D button by default, or you can allocate it to something else. So this is the only reason why I wouldn't give this a 10 out of 10, because it's super fast. It clears everything with ease. The layer of defense are okay-ish, but since we're freezing and chilling everything, pretty much our offense is our defense, so it's really great. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this build guide, and I will still be searching for the best league starter, and hopefully GGG drops some new Transcendent gems soon. And as always, take care, guys.